Hello, I'm Cass. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the end of year book tag. I love book tags so much and I need them to make a proper comeback for I can make more than 2 of these a year. This book tag has 6 different questions and I'm just gonna go through them, read them, give you my answer, and of course I need to know y'all's answers to all of these questions, or at least one of these questions. Pretty please in the comments let me know, because I feel like the end of the year reading energy just has such different vibes from everybody and I'm so curious to see what y'all's answers are gonna be. And without further ado, I'm just gonna pop straight into the questions, and question 1 is, are there any books that you need to finish before the end of the year? And actually I'm in the middle of 3. The first one being Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I'm absolutely loving Words of Radiance and I have plans to complete this well before the end of the year. I'll probably finish it even well before November ends. I just adore these characters and I adore the magic, and it is so good, and there's nothing stopping me from completing this book other than it being like 1100 pages. So these things take time. You must have patience. Journey before destination, everyone. Journey before destination. The next 2 books I have less of an excuse for being stuck in the middle of, and one of them is Shadow Puppets by Orson Scott Card. I started reading this book and I made it exactly to page 100, and then I got a little bored, so I don't know if I'll be picking this book up again by the end of the year or properly finishing it. I really hope so. I hate being stuck in the middle of books, but like I said, I was reading this book, I got bored, and that's when I switched to Words of Radiance. This book is quite long. Actually, no, it's not. That's not really an excuse to use, and it's a mass market. I just got a little bored. I really did enjoy Shadow of the Hedgeman by Orson Scott Card. That was book 2 in the Ender's Shadow Quartet. But this one is just not hitting the same. It's getting a little bit too politically, and most of his books are, but this one is just a different level where I'm bored. I'm bored reading about all the planning that they're gonna do, and then things fall through, and then all the planning they have to do, and then more things fall through. So I will try to finish this before the end of the year, but it's certainly not a priority. And then the last book that I'm in the middle of that I really need to finish is a book I've been in the middle of since like summer, and that's The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrel by India Holton. I was having a delightful time with this book. There's nothing that really kept me from this book other than, I want to say, my travel schedule and not wanting to pack it with me, and then suddenly months have gone by and I am still on chapter 10. I don't know where I flipped to exactly like 1 page before chapter 10. So I'm 110 pages in, which is like a third of the way into the book. This is a library book and it has just been renewed and renewed and renewed and renewed quite a bit. I do want to finish this book. I remember everything that kind of went down. I literally made it to the point where action just started happening properly, and then I set the book down and I forgot to pick it back up. And then I forgot I had it because I had it set, you can't see my book cart, but I have a book cart over there and it was like buried with all my other library books. So I would love to be able to get to this book before the end of the year. It's really short, it's fast paced, it's funny. I really like India Holton's humor. So I would love to actually like finish off the book. And it's a standalone part of a series, but they're all just like more of companions versus like a proper series following the same characters. So I don't know why I'm still in the middle of this book. So those are the 3 books that I'm currently in the middle of and need to finish before the end of the year. As for question 2, do you have an autumnal book to transition to the end of the year? And this answer is very similar to last year's answer. That is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I love The Kingkiller Chronicles, even though it's not complete, but that's besides the point. Last year, I reread this book before the end of the year, and so I put The Wise One's Fear as a good book to transition into the end of the year. But this one, I mean, first off, look at this special edition cover. The fall leaves are quite literally screaming at me, wanting me to read this book, and how could I refuse such a gorgeous edition? I love Patrick Rothfuss's prose, and I just think it's the perfect book to transition to into the end of the year. I love the magic, I love the writing, I love Kvothe, I love the side characters. Just rereading this book is so magnificent because you get so many more bits and pieces every single time you reread this book, especially because it's so long. There's something in every reread that you can take away from, and I'm so excited. I tried to say I wasn't going to reread this book because I have been rereading like mad this year, and I didn't want to reread another book at the end of the year, but I just love the Kingkiller Chronicles too much. I would love to read both The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. They're both on the docket, but whether or not I have time is a different matter. But this is just chef's kiss, an impeccable pick, and perhaps this will be a reoccurring trend where every year during this book tag I say this is the perfect novel to transition to the end of the year. But I do have another one on the docket as well, and that one being A Curious Beginning by Veronica Speedwell. No, Diana Raybourn. I've done that before. I know I've done that before. But the Veronica Speedwell series I have been eyeing for quite some time, and A Curious Beginning is on my 2024 TBR, so it'd be really cool if I finished it before the end of the year. I asked Katie if she felt like this was a good transitional book, and she said that any like mystery book very much so gives a good transitional vibe to the end of the year. So I'm excited. I feel like the Veronica Speedwell series is a little bit outside of my usual taste and my usual genre. I'm not usually a mystery girly, but the fact that it's also a historical romance leads me to believe that I will love it. I was a big fan of Stalking Jack the Ripper last year. I do love a good historical romance. Just the romance hits different when it's set back in like the Victorian ages. So I really do hope that I get to this book before the end of the year, but no promises. The third question is, are there any new releases you are still waiting on? And for the life of me, I could not figure out any books other than Wind and Truth originally. I ended up with 3. So I do have Wind and Truth because even though I'm still in the middle of Words of Radiance, which is book 2 in the Stormlight Archives, I just have that energy and excitement along with everyone else about book 5, even though I'm not caught up. But the fact that I don't have to wait for book 5 to come out is quite exciting, so I thought I'd throw it on the list. The other book that I'm very excited about is Dating and Dragons by Christy Boyce. I loved Dungeons and Drama. I thought it was so cute. So just perfect and cute and nerdy, and I loved it so much, especially considering it was a YA. I have not loved a YA romance book that much in a while. So the fact that Dating and Drama got an earlier release date, so it's coming out December 31st, is just impeccable. And the Barnes & Noble edition I need to get my grubby little hands on because that purple cover is absolutely spectacular. And another book that I'm kind of excited about as well, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually read it this year, is Heavenly Tyrant by Xiranjie Zhao. Now, I know their book got pushed back to December. I don't remember exactly what day in December, but I'm probably still going to buy it immediately. I think it's a duology. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I want to reread Iron Widow before I read Heavenly Tyrant though, for I can get a little refresh because it's been over a year since I've read Iron Widow, but I'm really curious to see where this story goes because Xiranjie Zhao was not holding back in the first one, and I really don't think that they're gonna hold back in the second one. Question 4 is, what books do you want to read by the end of the year? So these are books that I haven't started, but I want to get to. The first one being The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Look at this tiny edition that I bought recently from the Netherlands. It's so cute. And it's not just like a Netherlands exclusive thing. I just ended up buying it in the Netherlands. And the best part about it is like the tiny map in the beginning. Y'all, it's so cute. I have never read The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, which is kind of a crime, but I think The Hobbit is just like the perfect cozy fantasy, but with actual stakes. And I feel like it'll be such a nice read in like late November, early December. And I'm just excited to finally read this book. I started reading it a couple times back in high school and I just never finished the book, but I remember absolutely loving it. I say cozy vibes with stakes mostly because it starts out cozy and then it's actually like an adventure fantasy novel. But the beginning, I know, in the Shire is just so cozy and quaint following Bilbo. I'm just really excited. And then that means that hopefully next year I'll get to The Lord of the Rings. I know you don't have to read them in order, but I do want to read The Hobbit first. I just feel like it's going to be a delightful experience. And again, the fact that I haven't read this book or anything by J.R.R. Tolkien screams fake fantasy fan to me, and I want to resolve that. Another book that I want to read that I had no idea existed until Katie told me, so thank you, Katie, is Lovelight Farms. It is like a Christmas story. I really don't remember much about the premise of this book. The cover is fabulous. The cover is absolutely, I'm gobsmacked about this cover. I love the colors and just the composition. It's It's spectacular, truly. But I know this is a Christmas novel, and I wanted to read a Christmas novel last year and the year before and the year before, and I just never get around to doing it. So I'm going to try really, really hard to make like a proper like winter-esque vlog for you guys where I actually pick up some Christmas novels, and this being one of them. It seems so cute. I want to say it takes place in a small town, and y'all know I'm a sucker for some small town romances, even though I don't remember if this is a small town or not. It's giving me small town vibes anyways. I'll have to look into that later. I put it on my list and forgot to like double check what it was about, but I know that I'm interested in it at least. And then the last book that I put is the Jinbot of Shantipur. I put this on my 2024 TBR. I know it's a sci-fi. Again, I don't remember much else about this book other than I wanted to read it at the beginning of the year, and it's the end of the year, and I'm really trying to reel in my 2024 TBR. There's a few books that I've just probably given up on, one of them being Anne of Green Gables, but the rest I feel like are potentially doable. And I've never made a TBR that I've stuck to so closely throughout the year, and I really want to come close to completing it if I can get that nice sense of accomplishment that comes with completing TBRs. So Jinbot of Shantipur is one of the sci-fi books left on my TBR, and if the past couple of years are any indication, then I really like reading sci-fi in December. Sci-fi just gives me like the perfect December vibes, so I feel like putting this on my December TBR is a solid choice. Question 5 asks, is there a book that you think might shock you to become your favorite of the year? I really don't think so with like my reading plans, but I did say potentially The Hobbit could become a new favorite, and also Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I already have The Way of Kings as a top favorite book right now. Actually, most of my top favorite books are Brandon Sanderson books. Quit looking surprised. I know this doesn't shock you. So potentially Words of Radiance. I'm really loving this book. So I wouldn't be surprised if it made it on my favorites list. I just don't know if I would put Way of Kings and Words of Radiance on my favorite list, or if I would have to pick one or the other. I don't think either of these are going to become like my absolute favorite of the year. I think that's already kind of solidified, even though it's kind of surprising. They could shock me, hence like the question. They have potential. I just don't know if they're gonna actually deliver. And the 6th and final question is, have you already started making reading plans for 2025? And the answer is yes. I ended up earlier going to this event hosted by like an indie bookstore, and the theme was like journaling for 2025 reading plans, basically. So with that group of people, we were able to just bounce off a bunch of like new releases and books we really want to get to. So I had started planning like way earlier than I anticipated. And then recently, Katie and I actually planned our 2025 TBRs together, and it was so much fun just like bouncing books back and forth to each other and getting excited about new releases. And Katie and I struck a bargain, if you will. Now, I have been begging Katie since 2022 to continue on the Ranger's Apprentice series, and it has not happened, and I had tried tooth and nail to get that girl to read my favorite series, so we ended up striking a bargain. Katie is hosting over on her readathon a Veronica Speedwell readathon named The Speed Read. So every month she's going to read a Veronica Speedwell book, and there happens to be 9 of them, and the 10th one is coming out 2026. Ranger's Apprentice has 10 books. Do you see where I'm going with this? The deal was, for every Veronica Speedwell book that I read, she'll read the coinciding Ranger's Apprentice book. So once I make it to book 3, she's gonna read Icebound Land, and then book 4, she'll read The Battle of Scandia. I'm really excited about this bargain that we struck, because it's a way for her to finally read Ranger's Apprentice, and for me to also read one of her favorite series. So here's hoping that I stick to it, because I will do anything in my power to get Katie to read my favorite series. If that involves reading one of her favorite series, then so be it. So that's one of the big plans for 2025. That's going to actually spread throughout the year. Maybe I'll have to make like a little journal page for that. That'll be fun. As for other reading plans for 2025, I have like the contemporary romance trifecta of Emily Henry, Ali Hazelwood, and Abby Jimenez, all who are coming out with new romance books in 2025. So those are obviously automatically on my TBR for next year. I also have a couple other books like The Sunrise on the Reaping. Y'all, I can just feel like my old fandom self coming out about the Hunger Games, because Haymitch is my favorite character, and I'm just dying to see what Suzanne Collins does with this book. I am so excited. When I read Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, a little disconnected. I wasn't super invested. I appreciated it more after I saw the movie and then reread the book, but this one, I'm so excited. I didn't think I could ever be excited about a Hunger Games book, but here we are. And then the last book, that's one that I've just been eyeing for literally ever, and that is an ML Wong book, and it's The Sword of Kaigen. I do want to read Blood Over Brighthaven as well, but Sword of Kaigen is definitely like a priority for me. So those are some of like my 2025 reading plans. Obviously I have so many more. I will probably come out with a video talking through my entire 2025 TBR, so stay tuned for that later. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing all of my answers for the tag. I feel like I rambled on and got sidetracked a little bit too much in this. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the year in terms of your reading, and hope that you are very excited for a new year full of wonderful reading. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Toodles!